This was kind of a fail for me, and it's just because I wasn't really thinking about what content I was going to use it for.
So this is our living room, and you can tell that after Christmas, our kids kind of took over. And you might notice that I don't have a system hooked up here, which is kind of a shame because I have this ultra short throw BenQ V7050i and this drop down screen from Elite Screens. So this is a 100-inch screen, and right now I do have some speakers hooked up. It's these SingCell Alpha speakers, which are pretty awesome in their own right. But I'm kind of curious to see if I can hook up a 5.1 or a 7.1 surround sound system here without it taking over the living room. So I saw these 4K audio extractors. This one is from Monoprice, the Blackbird, and it supposedly can do 7.1. And this tiny device here is supposed to be able to provide me with LPCM, bitstream, or just stereo. It has optical output for audio as well as a 7.1 output, but via 3.5mm jacks. I would have preferred RCAs, but let's see how this works anyway. So as of this recording, this was around 50 bucks. And because I have some powered speakers that I've reviewed recently, I figured that perhaps I could avoid putting an AVR maybe somewhere right there.
So I guess I'll just have to find out. It's Joe and Cell time.
Right now I have it set to 4K HDR, and what I want to know is if it retains that when I plug in the audio extractor. I'll just plug in the streaming stick into the input here, into the back of the projector. Go ahead and turn this on here. So I have it on LPCM mode, and it looks like it still says 4K HDR there, so that is good. Looks like it's passing 4K HDR through. So to give you a size comparison, there it is next to the Apple TV 4K. So just to make sure that HDR is working, let's see what the Apple TV says. It does not seem to like the signal from the Apple TV. Just to make sure it's not an HDMI issue, go through my cables and your HDMI connection looks good. And it didn't like that one either. So I just replugged in the Android TV stick, and it is showing up as 4K HDR 60 Hertz. So I wonder if it's just the Apple TV. Alright, so I'm gonna test that out with this Gemini Man video here on YouTube. So it's real obvious to tell with this video if it's in 60 frames per second or not. Yeah, it already looks like it is. Huh. So with this Android TV stick, I can put it in bitstream, and it down mixes all the channels to stereo still. Maybe the Apple TV is only putting out a PCM signal. I'm not sure exactly. So right now I have the Apple TV 4K going to the input here, and the output going into one of the inputs on the back of the projector. And for audio, I'm actually using the SingLink proprietary HDMI cable. So this is supposed to be using HDMI ARC. And if that's still working, I should get sound here. And I am. Their manual says it has a bandwidth of 10.2 gigabits per second and 4K video in 3D. Let's find out if the external audio works using the Monolith MTM 100s here. This is the front left and right speaker. I've disconnected the HDMI ARC to the SingLink, so the audio should be coming out of these speakers now. And they are. Very cool.
So right now I have an LPCM mode, but I only have two channels hooked up, the front left and front right. I have our spatial audio calibration toolkit, and I can play the 7.1.4, and let's see what happens. Front left. Front right.
Alright, let me pause right here and just kind of give you guys an idea of what's happening. With the Apple TV, it puts out an LPCM signal. So 7.1 does work if you're playing 7.1 content.
So only the front left and front right played, and that's what we would expect. Let me change this to bitstream and also to the 2-channel stereo mode. No sound. Okay. Alright, so essentially what happened here is that I was playing a lossless file, and Apple TV does not support lossless bitstream. And now I've set it to TV mode, and I'm assuming that that's just stereo.
front left, center, front right, surround right, surround back right, surround back left, surround left, front height left, front height right, rear height.
Alright, so cool. Basically what happened is if I put it into TV mode, that down mixes all content to stereo, so that works as expected. Now to test out some actual content. So that's great, 2 channels works, but that wasn't the point, right? We want to see what happens when we hook up multi-channel, at least 5.1, and see what happens. So unfortunately, I don't think I can choose between 7.1 and 5.1. I don't really want to put more than 2 pairs of surround speakers. So I'll definitely have to put a center channel, otherwise I won't get dialogue. But so I tried using that setup for a while, and there are a few things that you want to consider if you want to do something like this. And first is that this thing doesn't have volume control. So whichever device you're using, you have to make sure that you're able to control the volume. So with Apple TV, there are various ways to control the volume by programming the remote, making it learn, things like that. But just make sure that depending on what you're using, you're able to control the volume somehow, because you can't control it on this device like you could with an AVR. The other thing is, if you want to use 7.1 channels out of this, you have to use LPCM, so lossless PCM, and usually most of the stuff that I watch is coming from a streaming service, and that is lossy, and so this cannot decode any of those signals. Now, unless you have an Apple TV that can convert the signals to PCM, there's no real way to use something like this. For some reason, I wasn't able to get 4K 60 HDR to work with the Apple TV, so that's an issue. But I was able to get it to work on some Android streaming sticks and my NVIDIA Shield. So the NVIDIA Shield worked out well, but the problem is that it doesn't convert all the signals to PCM like the Apple TV did. Maybe there's a setting that I'm missing, but it just kind of felt like a hacky way to do what I really wanted to do. And so at the end of the day, it might just be worth it to get an inexpensive AVR that kind of does all of these things. You could probably find one that's $300 or $400 that can do a better job than what I was trying to do with this, which was avoid getting an AVR. So it was a fun experiment, but overall, I'm not sure that it was the right choice for me. But if you can find a use case, for example, if most of your content is coming from Blu-ray disc, physical media where you can actually choose to use PCM as an output, maybe this will work for you. But anyway, it was a fun experiment. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload the videos. That's it. Take care. Bye-bye.